All rise to drink. Welcome to Sidebar Sessions by CD Law, your personal injury law firm. Your hosts, Miguel Custodio and Vineet Dubey. Two lawyers and guests breaking down law and life over a glass of wine. Get ready. This is Sidebar Sessions.
Welcome to CD Law's inaugural podcast, Sidebar Sessions, with myself, Miguel Custodio, and my partner, Vineet Dubey. Today, we have the pleasure, the honor of having Robert Rust, a great attorney from Florida, who's joining us today. And we've worked together, and not only that, but he's a good friend of ours. So Robert, thank you for coming. And as you know, it's Sidebar Sessions, so we have wine to drink today. So we're going to have some 2017 Silver Oak Cab, which has, I believe, a 93 rating on James Suckling's scorecard.
It's a good wine.
Yeah, it is.
It's a good wine. Quality.
Well, I've never had wine during a sidebar, so this will be my first time.
Good.
I thought you were going to say I've never had wine before.
Well, you opened up the bottle really well, so.
Like a champ.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. I'm excited to be here.
Robert Rust. Robert, your name sounds to me like the name of a lawyer in a John Grisham novel. Robert Rust. It's like a good lawyer name.
It is.
It's
like
a
a
great
Southern
lawyer
lawyer.
name. And, I actually have my grandfather's name. My grandfather was he was the U.S. Attorney for the Southern District in Florida. He was appointed by President Nixon.
Oh, wow.
Unfortunately, he passed away about 5 months ago.
Oh.
So I have some big shoes to fill with having his name. But I'm excited to kind of pave my own path with Robert Warren Rust.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is a nice lawyer name.
Yeah, big time. That's cool. And sorry for your passing of your grandfather.
Nah, he lived until he was 96, so it was a
He had
great
good
life.
run.
96.
He had a good run.
Really good
Whoa.
life.
Big time lawyer, huh?
Yeah, he was. He said, being a federal prosecutor was the best job he ever had. So he was a little disappointed that I didn't follow him in that path.
Yeah.
I was a felony state prosecutor, but never did the Fed stuff.
Nice. Well, we're going to get into all that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We want to get into your whole kind of ride in
Definitely.
law. But first, cheers.
Hey, cheers.
Thanks for
having
coming
me.
on. Thanks for helping us out on this first one.
Yeah.
Cheers, Miguel.
Yeah. Cheers. I note some flavors of alcohol here. Right.
Smooth alcohol flavors. It's good. It's good.
So, Robert, tell us a little about yourself, where you grew up, and your journey to becoming a lawyer.
Sure. I was born in Miami, and I was born 3 months after Hurricane Andrew, which was a huge destructive hurricane in South Florida, destroyed the city. My parents made the decision that they wanted to leave Miami. So I moved to Tallahassee with my parents and my brother and my sister, and I was raised in Tallahassee. So I spent my entire childhood there, and then I moved down to Orlando to try to play college golf. I thought I was maybe good enough to play in college. I tried walking on, and I think I shot like 75, 73. Then I shot 80, and the coach was like, "See ya." So it was
bad though, huh?
Yeah.
Those first 2 rounds weren't bad.
No, they weren't. I was like,
That's
I
pretty
might
good.
have a chance of making the team here.
Yeah.
So I went to Rollins College in Orlando for undergrad, and then I went to the University of Miami for law school, and I've been in Miami for about 10 years. After I graduated law school, I went to the state attorney's office. I became a felony prosecutor, prosecuted a lot of cases. Then I went to a boutique personal injury firm for about 2 years, learned how to do personal injury. And then a little over 2 years ago, I started my own practice, Rust Injury Law. And we've been very fortunate to have some nice success, which I think maybe we'll talk about a little bit today.
Sure. And correct me if I'm wrong, but you clerked for a judge or two?
I did. So when I was in law school, I clerked for one of the 3rd DCA judges, Judge Edwin Scales. It's kind of funny how I ended up, being his clerk. We were at this event in law school. It was called Breakfast with the Bench. So it was this event that the University of Miami put on. and we would have breakfast with all these different practitioners and judges. And I ended up hearing that Judge Scales was from Key West. And I went up to him and I'm like, you probably know my aunt. You know, she owns a hotel down in Key West. Like, maybe you know her. And I told him her name, and he said, she's like one of my best friends. How about you come work for me this summer? And everybody saw this going on, like all of my different classmates, and they saw me get offered the job right there on the spot. So it was probably nepotism to get that clerkship, but it worked out.
Connections are so.
It really is. It's all
They're
about
so
connections.
important. It's all about connections. Like,
yeah, you
when
got to
I
be
was,
shameless sometimes.
Our first summer in law school, you know, first summer everybody gets like free jobs basically, right? Like
Exactly.
nobody's getting a paying job. You're interning. You're working in the library, right? And I by no means had close to like the best grades in our class. By no means, right? Like not
I'm
even,
just kidding.
Not even close. But I was one of the only people that got a paying job our first summer because a friend of mine, this guy, Drew Quisenberry, his uncle was a litigator in Century City.
Okay.
And he grew up in the same hometown that I did years ago. And Drew put me in touch with John Quisenberry, and he gave me a job that first summer. You know, and I was making, I don't know, $28 an hour. I was getting paid.
I didn't get paid.
Exactly. And like, you know, and it was all 100% connections, right?
Yeah.
Who you know, it's so important.
And I think that's a good point to kind of just stay on for a little bit, because, you know, I get asked when I'm on panels, what is like something we should be doing as law school students, right? They'll be asking me, and I said, look, try to get to know as many people as possible. It's important who you know all the time. My first job coming out of law school was at a family law firm, for some high-end family law firm that I worked at as a file clerk in college, but I stayed in touch with them. And so it really matters who you know, and just stay in touch with people. I think, you know, obviously I think your example is like super extreme,
Yeah.
but it goes to show that sometimes all you have to do is just go up to somebody and start talking to them.
And something that I tell a lot of people who are considering law school is I say, go to a law school in a city where you want to practice law. Because the reality is when you go to law school, yes, you're going to class, but most of your time is networking, whether it's with your classmates, whether it's with practitioners, judges. And so it doesn't make sense to go and invest all of that time, you know, in a city or a place where you're living, and then just get up and leave. Because those connections really dictate your success post-law school.
Yeah.
You know, irrespective of whether you're a solo practitioner like myself who has to hustle to get cases, or you're, you know, at one of these big corporate law firms, like, you still need to know people. And, you know, if you can know the judge, even better.
Yeah.
So
No, I think it's important, right?
I mean, Miguel and I met in law school.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You guys were classmates.
Connection, right? We were buddies in law school, stayed in touch, came around, and now we are where we are, right? But it's
The funny thing is that we met because we were in a third year criminal procedure class,
second or third.
and the guy that I knew, so I didn't know Vineet, and we were in that class, but the guy I knew, Jerry, he's now a state judge, right? And then Vineet, go ahead, because you like telling the story. Say the story. You might as well.
So I was buddies with Jerry, and I was sitting next to Jerry, and he knew Miguel, and I also knew this guy named Tony, who Miguel was roommates with. And Miguel was sitting like 2 or 3 rows below me and Jerry. I didn't know the guy, right? And Miguel was wearing like a lavender polo that day, and he was sitting right next to a girl.
I don't know if it's
He's
lavender.
always
Pink. It was
had
pink or lavender.
He's always had style. I mean, there's no denying that.
Thanks.
He's always
No question.
There's a reason why he's our first guest.
No question. So he's sitting right next to a girl who also is wearing the exact same lavender polo.
Oh,
right?
that's cute.
And I didn't know him, and I just leaned down and I go, "Hey, buddy, nice shirt." And he started laughing, right? And everybody laughed a little bit, and then we kind of like got to know each other from there, which is, you know.
And I think that's honestly some of the best friendships are the ones where you can kind of rag on the other guy.
And if you don't know them and they take it well, I think that's a good sign. Right?
Definitely.
You
It
know.
seems like that's how you guys became fast friends.
And honestly, I've made a lot of friends by like kind of just clowning them a little bit, or
for
you
sure.
crack a joke, and then they take it well, and then next you know you're like, okay, this is a cool guy. You know,
Yes.
I can hang out with this person.
Because look, as you meet people, right, and as you get older, one of the key things you'll see about people that like you want to be around and that are pretty successful in life is that they can laugh at themselves. They don't take themselves too seriously.
Definitely.
Right? It's like a big thing to have the humility to be like, yeah, sometimes I do stuff that's silly and people, and I'm an idiot sometimes.
Yeah.
And you can laugh along with it, right?
For sure. I think self-deprecating humor
Self-deprecating
Absolutely.
is a good quality.
it shows
in anybody.
humility.
It does.
Yeah.
When you're too, high on yourself, it's like I can't laugh at
It's
myself.
like, get off, man. Get over yourself, dude.
It's like I
You
think
know?
I'm cool. I'm not that cool.
We all mess up,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We
We're
all
all
wear
human.
lavender shirts from time to time.
Yeah.
You know. So your experience at law school. Tell us a little bit about that.
So
Well, first of all, you grew up in Tallahassee, right?
I grew up in
Were you a
Tallahassee.
Seminole fan, and then you went to University of Vermont? Do you have divided loyalties?
It's a
or
good
what?
question. There's no divided loyalties.
Okay.
My dad played football for Florida State.
Okay, so you're a Seminole fan.
So I've been a Knoll since I was a kid. Been going to the games since I was maybe 10 years old. I don't want to talk about last season, so let's not get into that.
Fair enough.
We're hoping for a better season, but yeah, definitely Knoll-blooded for
Okay.
sure.
All right.
What was that quarterback back in the day? Did he play also basketball?
Charlie Ward.
Charlie Ward.
Yeah, he won the Heisman,
There
I
we
believe, in
go.
1991.
Yes.
He was a
You remember?
Yeah.
dual sport
He
athlete.
played basketball.
badass.
Point guard on the basketball
Yes.
team.
Yeah.
Quarterback.
He played in the
Yes,
NBA.
yes,
Won the Heisman.
Yes,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the Knicks, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
We've
Anyways.
had some good athletes come through.
Yeah.
Yeah. So were you doing the tomahawk chop during law school?
Hell yeah.
In Miami?
The first time I ever visited California was to go to the national championship game. I think it was 2014, Florida State versus Auburn up in Pasadena. And that was the first time I've ever been
was
to
that
California.
Cam Newton at Auburn, or was that before?
That
Cam
was before Cam Newton, but
Okay.
that was with Jameis Winston.
Newton? Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, Winston.
So
Yeah.
we had Jameis Winston.
Yeah, he was a
it was
stud.
it was a perfect season. I think we were 13-0.
So
He's still floating around the NFL as
Yeah,
like a backup
he's
quarterback.
still out there. He's still doing something.
Yeah.
stealing crab legs or something, right?
That's
oh,
right.
oh, come on, get out of here.
What's sad about being a UCLA alum, and for me it's like double Bruin, right? Because I went undergrad in law school.
Flex.
Is that there's all these like really good bowl games, January 1st, and it's never the Bruins in Pasadena. Never.
Yeah.
Never. I mean,
they haven't made the Rose Bowl in how many years?
Well, you're not really a football school.
everybody say, I know, and you're a basketball school. I get that, but it's still like
Are you though? I mean, like Russell Westbrook, that was the best player you guys have had in the last 20 years.
so he doesn't know basketball then, I guess, right?
I don't know.
Would
they
you say
made-
Kevin
they
Love?
Well, Kevin Love,
All
yeah,
right,
but
Kevin
Russell
Love.
Westbrook's is really the face of the UCLA program, right?
Since when?
I don't know, since the last 20 years.
I mean, I'm trying to think now, right?
I don't know. They made the Final Four like 3 or 4 years in a row.
Yeah, with Ben
without him,
Howland.
right?
Yeah, and we kept losing to the Gators.
Yeah, Florida kept
Remember
beating
that?
us.
Was
Yeah.
I alive?
Good question.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
That's when Florida had Noah, remember?
Yeah.
Oh,
I hate
joke
that
him
guy.
now.
Those
So this
guys?
is
They
like
had 5 guys.
05,
Yeah.
06.
We're really
Billy Donovan.
Okay.
Yeah.
And look, that's part of. Look, here's another thing too that's part of this podcast is that we are having this as really a conversation.
Yeah.
And as a conversation among friends, it goes places. It's not always going to be all about, let's talk about this case. Let's talk about this last, trial that we had or anything like that. It's really, I mean, look, obviously we're drinking wine, right? So it's a lot more casual, and that's what we aim to have, right? To, just chat. The goal is to talk a little bit about law, but also about the journey of what everybody's road to law and success has looked like, what they can tell other aspiring students and lawyers. Also talk about, having their own practice, and not everybody that we're going to have is going to have their own practice, but you do, and we'll talk about that. But, that's going to be this podcast. We're going to be talking about Billy Donovan and Joachim Noah. Yeah. So welcome.
I'm happy to be here.
Good.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Good. All right. So law school. What else? So then you were prosecutor.
I was.
And-
And I tell people that's the best job I've ever had. I feel like for a young lawyer who's just leaving law school, there's not a lot of places you can go where you get that much responsibility and that much. And I don't want to use the word power because that's kind of a perverse term, but like you do have power. Like you are bringing the charges. You are the state of Florida. And so, that person's liberty kind of lies in your hands. And as a young lawyer, you really kind of grow up fast, and you learn to be a lawyer. Whereas I think if you go to one of these big law firms, they kind of, you're kind of riding the tricycle for a few years before you're really doing anything substantive. So I tell people who are leaving law school that want to be, trial oriented in their practice, go to the state attorney's office, go to the public defender's office, try a bunch of cases. It'll be the best thing you did. Yeah. So I loved it.
Get that actual
get the reps.
Courtroom rep
exactly.
experience.
Exactly. So I loved it.
And you were there for how long?
I was there for a little over 2 years, which, wasn't a long time, but I went during COVID. It was a weird time. The office was asking us to go back to a virtual setting. I had tried a bunch of cases, and I kind of was like, I came here to get what I want. I've got it. I think it's time to move on. And the reality is I use that office as a stepping stone. I always knew I wanted to get to this point, which was to be a solo practitioner. But I knew that if I was going to have credibility in what I was doing, I needed to be a real trial lawyer. I needed to actually have in-courtroom experience. So that was always the plan from the day I graduated law school. It was go to the state attorney's office, try a bunch of cases, learn personal injury to a point where I felt like, hey, I can do this, and then rip cord and try to do it yourself. Try to make it.
You've got to get to the point where you know how to practice law.
Exactly. You have to have the hard skills.
We've had several law students go, "Oh man, I want to just start my practice as soon as I get out. How did y'all do it? What do you do?" And I mean, I tell them the same thing that he tells them is like, look, after law school, I mean, I practiced at 3 or 4 different firms for 5 or 6 years. When I was comfortable to the point where I said, look, I know how to practice law now. Case comes in the door, I can handle it from start to finish.
Exactly.
That's when I was like, all right, I'm ready to go on my own. But coming out of law school, you're not ready.
You don't even know where to stand if you get to court.
You have no
or
clue.
Check in, it's very basic things.
Yeah. I will say that's like the general rule of thumb. I do know a couple guys that started their own practices right out of law school. I mean, they've got multiple Lamborghinis. These guys are crushing it.
But sometimes you don't have a choice, right? If nobody's hiring, because you sort of have to start your own practice and just kind of figure it out. But I'll be honest.
And that's the exception.
I'll be honest.
He's definitely the exception, the guy.
I mean, I kind of think that you're getting into malpractice territory when you don't know what you're doing and you're taking on a case and you're sort of just figuring it out if you don't ask other people.
Yeah, and that's a huge part of it. And that's something that I think is a skill for me, or at least something that I'm good at, is that I am not afraid to ask for help. I'm not afraid to call up a buddy with more experience and say, I don't really know what to do here. What do you think? What would you do? And while I might be a solo practitioner, I don't feel like it. I call all these people up all the time, and I feel like I've got an army of plaintiff lawyers around me in almost every case that I handle, because I do. I spitball with multiple different people. What do you think this case is worth? What do you think this strategy would do? Do you think this would kind of exert pressure on them? I don't have an ego when it comes to that, and that has been extremely beneficial to my success.
I think it's essential if you're going to grow. Even if you have a ton of experience, we're always learning.
Kill the ego.
Yeah.
Kill the ego.
Yeah.
It's going back to humility, right?
Yeah.
Self-deprecation is a sign of humility. Another sign of humility is knowing that you don't know what you don't know, and you need help, and you need to ask questions.
Exactly.
And that's really important.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, it's why you're becoming as successful as you are, because that's one of your qualities, right? Is that you're not too cocky to ask a question and ask for some help, right?
So
going back to what he said earlier too, though, multiple Lamborghinis, that should be like the name of a podcast or something.
Yeah.
It's like a
I think he's got like I think he's got a nickname. It's called the Lambo Lawyer.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
There you go.
Nice.
He's got multiple Lamborghinis.
Right.
That's great.
I know. Good for him, man. Good for him.
Going back, so in college, at Rollins College,
Yep.
you studied in Shanghai, right?
我说韩语妈妈呼呼还是还可以.
That means yes, he's honored to be on CD Law's first podcast, right?
请给我一杯啤酒。在上海我学的韩语。
Oof.
我说韩语妈妈呼呼还是
You better not be cussing me out.
Fluent Mandarin?
No, I'm pretty much tapped right there.
Okay.
That was pretty good.
Impressive.
That was pretty good.
Impressive.
My wife is not so impressed. Every time Shanghai comes up,
You drop those lines.
I dropped those exact lines, and she's like, he's asking for a beer. He says that he speaks, Chinese a little better than average. I've heard this 500 times.
That's hilarious.
So, it impresses
Where is
you
the
guys.
bathroom?
Yeah,
Is what he said.
It impresses,
It shut me up, and I'm like, oh,
Exactly.
okay, like,
I was
wow.
impressed.
Yeah,
I was
So-
impressed.
I will say I won a speech contest when I was in Shanghai.
but English.
No, Chinese.
So what happened to it? You just
I don't practice.
wow.
There's not a lot of Chinese people in Miami.
So, one thing that is important, I think, for college students, at least in my opinion, because I studied abroad in Nottingham for a year in England, is how great of an experience that was. And I tell students, look, if you can go abroad a quarter, a semester, a year if possible. I did a year. There's nothing else like studying abroad. You're never going to have a time in your life where you have just no cares in the world. You have, well, at least for me, I had financial aid paying for my trip. And you're just getting
You were balling.
yeah. And you're just getting to discover the world and make new friends that you would never in a million years have ever made. So that's my stance on studying abroad. What do you have for that?
So I think it gives you perspective. I think that when you go somewhere and you walk the day in the life of someone else, it gives you a new perspective on what life is. I recently saw some sort of statistic that said that if you make more than $50,000, you are in the top 90% of wealth earners in the world. If you make more than 100,000, you're in the top 1%. And so I think especially
think about that. 50,000 is $2,500 a month.
Yeah,
Right.
It's
Ish.
That's a teacher's salary.
I know that's a
right?
lot of
Yeah.
money for some people, but like it's not a lot of money to be one of the highest earning people
Right.
on this planet.
Yep.
And so when you can go to another place and see how that life is, it opens your eyes. I think it makes you more appreciative and grateful for what you have. So I tell people travel, to enjoy yourself, but do it also to become more appreciative and grateful for what you have in your life and stop bitching so much.
Yeah.
It's a great point.
It's, of course, Rob makes a nice serious point as to instead of mine is like, go have fun, whatever. But you just start seeing the different cultures and how different they are, and being in Nottingham, small little town, right? Sundays everything is open from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. and then that's it. Supermarkets, everything. So you got to get your stuff done 10 to 2. And if, I'm coming from LA where everything's 24 hours.
Yeah.
And then you realize, it's possible to live in a place that's not like 24/7. And in fact, you'll probably enjoy it because the pace is a little slower, So one more thing about being in England is that everybody drinks like crazy. So that was a little different. And, I was in a fraternity and, you know what happens there, but still, these college kids are just drinking like crazy, So it's a little different culture shock, but anyways, you learn.
Definitely. Did you ever study abroad?
I did not, and that was the one. That's the one regret that I have from college is not studying abroad.
And remind
Going
me,
back, I tell people
you went
should've done
to
it.
Rice undergrad.
I went to
right?
Rice, yeah.
That's in Texas.
Houston, right?
Houston.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was your college experience like in Houston?
It was great. It was great. I had an absolute blast.
And where are you from originally?
In Mississippi, originally.
That's right. You're from Mississippi.
Yeah, Clinton, Mississippi, small town.
So a Mississippi guy who's now a big shot lawyer in L.A.
I grew up in a small town with 20,000 people in Clinton, Mississippi, and now I'm a lawyer in Los Angeles. I was back there 2 weeks ago because a very good friend of mine's dad passed away. And so, I went back and I got to see the town and drive around and go back by my old house, and see some old friends and see their parents. And it was great. And it because I hadn't been in a while, but it really kind of crystallizes that, I've come a long way. I've done a lot of things and a couple points, but taking it further back than that, my dad grew up in a village in India, right? And then look where his kid ended up now because he got here and created a life for us, right? So even coming from a small town in Mississippi was a million times more affluent and had more opportunity than what he would have had growing up, right? Had he stayed around there.
That's awesome.
So,
Yeah.
Look, it's kind of the American dream, right? It's the land of
I
opportunity.
think it's
and
exactly what the
I'm always
American
very
dream is.
blessed and very, I'm whether or not you like who's the president, I'm always a patriotic guy, and I really love this country because of all the opportunity that I personally had and seen, right? And my family has seen. But kind of getting back to your point about traveling and seeing, different cultures, and it makes you appreciate what you have more. So my kids are very fortunate, right? We take them and we travel all over the world with them. We just did a huge, crazy vacation. We went to Italy and then the Maldives. And then after, when we were planning it, my wife was like, look, I think I want to take them to Nepal for 2 weeks. That's where she grew up. She moved to America when she was 8 years old. And her parents were going to be out there, and they're well off in Nepal. But still, it's Kathmandu. And
Yeah.
it's like, it's a level of poverty that, like, it's hard to comprehend unless you see it.
Definitely.
How these people live. And I said, do it, please. Like, I want you to take them for 2. I'll come home, and then I'll go back and meet you guys, and we'll come home. But because I had to get back to work. But I told her, please take them, because I want them to already see that level of poverty. And even though they're little, it's kind of going to stick in their head a little bit that, man,
It will.
This is different.
We got it nice out
This
here.
is different,
Yeah.
and I hope that leads to a little appreciation, of what they have.
No, it's great, and that's every city that's not in the U.S. has just a different view of things, and it's great. And trust me, they're gonna think about that years down the road, right? Even if it's just a little quick memory, they're
sure.
gonna remember.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it's going to make them better people
Yeah.
because of it, and it's going to make them appreciate what they have more, right?
So Vineet, when you saw your old house, tell me what you were like. What memories came up? Because that's pretty cool, right?
It is pretty cool. The one thing I noticed is how the neighborhood has significantly declined.
Yeah.
we as we drove around, there were parts of the sidewalk that had just disintegrated, gone, and people had just put rocks to
Makeshift.
Yeah,
Like a
makeshift.
yeah.
So I noticed that. But the memories that came back to me were running around outside
Yeah.
all day. Because, when I grew up, especially in the summer, you leave the house at 8 o'clock in the morning. You run around the neighborhood. You play basketball. You play football. You play tag. You get in some trouble. You screw around, go to different people's houses. And then you come back home at like 5 or 6. Come back for lunch.
Yeah.
Go back out. Come back at 5 or 6. And you're in for the night, right? And so all those memories are what kind of comes back to me, like just running around the neighborhood.
That's
playing
pretty cool.
sports, riding bikes around the neighborhood. Just free, right? With no parental oversight. Because back in the day, you could do that, right? Like,
And that's how my childhood was too. Like, there wasn't cell phones, there wasn't cameras
None.
everywhere. You
Yeah.
could go out and get into a little bit
Yeah,
of trouble
of
with your
course.
friends and like come back dirty. You scarf down your food and you have the best sleep of your life and you do it again the very next day.
yeah.
No, it's awesome.
When we were kids, we were always like, man, I want to be an adult. But now I'm like, man, I would pay a lot of money to be that young kid again.
oh, absolutely. There's just it's innocence, right?
Yeah, it is.
Well, remember how we were on the way back from lunch? We were talking about Morgan and Morgan, right?
Yeah.
And so Miguel went to a conference where John Morgan spoke. And remember what he told you? Tell me. What did he tell?
That
the
he
young
said,
kid.
He said, look, for all the money that I have and real estate and all that, I see a young guy and I'm like, dude, I would give everything to be that guy.
He would trade places in a heartbeat.
Without a guy without any legal experience or anything, just starting up again. Because you can't. That's the only thing you can't get back, right? Well,
That's
your
right.
health and time, right?
Your youth. Yeah.
Yeah, but health, you can repair your health, right? But you can't get back your time, and so it's powerful, right? We think back to our childhood memories, and the same as yours. Like we just play until it got dark,
Yeah.
right? That was the curfew.
Yeah.
It gets dark, and then you go in and eat, and then that's the end of the day, and you look forward to the next day. You know? And
You
it's-
watched the Cosby Show on TV. Theo Huxtable just passed away.
I was gonna make a joke, but
You said one thing, and I'm not
we
trying
watched.
to, I don't want to take the podcast to make it too serious, but
Sure.
I do want to make this point and you guys did say we have wide latitude in the
Absolutely.
subjects
Absolutely.
That's the whole point.
that we can discuss. But you said something about your health,
yeah,
and health is important.
Sure.
I tell anybody that will listen to me, do not take your health for granted. When I was 18 years old, I was about to graduate high school. I was the healthiest kid in the world. Played every sport. I was on the soccer team, the swim team. I was the captain of the golf team. By all accounts, I was super fit and healthy. But what I didn't realize what was going on was that I had a spinal condition that was manifesting. And I remember I was going to work out before swim practice one day, and I had this really weird thing in the gym. I'm doing like lat pull downs, and like my right hand can't bring the weight down. I'm like, that's weird. Like, that's really weird. Then I had a friend a few hours later say my eyes looked really weird. So I ended up going home, and I told my mom, I'm like, something's not right with me. I don't know what's going on. And so we went to the doctor that day. They couldn't figure it out. Went to another doctor and got an MRI. And I remember this so vividly. You know, we had a basketball hoop in our driveway, and I'm playing basketball with my little brother. And my mom comes outside, and she says, the doctor wants to talk to you. I thought that was really weird. I'm like, why does the doctor want to talk to me? Without being too long-winded, I ended up having emergency brain surgery about 2 days later. We got a second opinion before ultimately had the procedure, but you know, I had something called Chiari malformation, and so I had a decompression surgery where they essentially crack the back of your skull and they harvest a film off the top of your head, and they create a little pocket for your cerebellum tonsils to sit in, which is the latter portion of your brain. Mine was being sucked into my spinal cord, and I was having all these nerve issues in my hand.
Wow.
And you just, like, it happened so fast. And going from, like, the healthy, young star athlete to, like, am I going to survive this in a matter of, like, 3-4 days? I mean, that gives you perspective. And so don't ever take your health for granted. That's the point I'm trying to make, because it can leave you just like that.
I'm curious, what did the doctor tell you during that phone call?
The doctor specifically told me that I had something called a syrinx sitting on my spine at C7T1. And that a syrinx is a ball of stagnant spinal fluid. And it essentially formed into like a grape size that was compressing my spinal cord. And they said, unless we go in and basically relieve the pressure in your spine, you're going to become crippled in the next 2 weeks.
And what was that caused from?
It was a congenital defect. It was something that I was born with. And the way that it works is it doesn't manifest itself until your brain reaches its maximum growth, or your skull.
Sure.
So typically you start seeing symptomology when you're 17, 18. And it just happened to be like 2 weeks before I graduated high school.
I mean, how crazy must that be as an 18-year-old to hear that? Within 2 weeks, this is going to happen if you don't have emergency brain surgery.
Yeah, I mean
that's wild.
I honestly credit that surgery and that ordeal in my life with, you know, a lot of the success I've had in life. I think it's given me a great perspective. I think it's made me realize that, you know, life is so short. You need to be kind to people. And I feel like kindness has in turn really benefited my practice.
Sure.
You know, I treat people with respect. I treat people how I want to be treated. And I find that has, you know, it's yielded benefits. So, you know, I don't want to be sappy and emotional about it, but that is my experience. That is my story.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is this happened to me? This is how I changed. And I have seen a tangible result, I guess you could say, from that.
It's incredible. And that's what we want to hear.
And you know, part of being kind to, you know, to people is also be kind to your own body, you know. And I think a lot of us, you know, take for granted the things we do on a daily basis. A lat pull, right? You go to the gym, you do it, you take it for granted until you can't do it, right? And I think, I mean, obviously, you know, we're talking about health. There is a lot of people that just don't get enough sleep. I'll be very honest. You know, if we're talking about that, you know, sleep is so essential, and, you know, they don't eat well. They don't drink enough water. I just think when you see somebody who is successful, for the most part, they're making really good decisions on a general basis. It's not just because they're a good lawyer. It's not because, you know, they do one thing good. I think successful people tend to do almost everything above average.
I agree with that, and I want to say something about sleep because it's kind of, you talk to any of my friends right now, it's the topic I love to talk about.
Good.
So at the end of last year, I stopped drinking. Obviously, I'm having a glass of wine right now.
Did you just fall off the wagon for our podcast?
Yeah, we're going into total relapse right now. But
we're going to the bar after
I
this.
told myself, I said, so I got married in May of this year in Turkey, and I set kind of like this artificial goal. I said, I'm going to try not to drink until my wedding. So this was at the very end of December of last year. So I drank during my bachelor party, but then I didn't drink until my wedding in May. So almost 5 full months of sobriety, and it's the best I've ever felt. It's the happiest I've ever felt. It's the best sleep I've ever gotten. And I do think that sleep is so critical to being able to perform well. And I have this thing on my bed. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called 8 Sleep. And I'm not trying to do a sponsorship for them, but it's this mattress cover that goes over your bed.
I've seen it.
But 8 Sleep, if you're listening.
Yeah, but if you're, send me some royalties.
We will do sponsorships soon on our podcast.
What it is it's this mattress cover that goes on your existing mattress, and it circulates hot and cold water.
I've seen that before, too.
And it keeps you at an optimal temperature throughout the night, and it gives you a sleep score every morning. So it tells you what your REM is, your deep sleep. It tells you what your resting heart rate is, how many breaths per minute.
And then can you and your wife have different settings?
Yes. So she's she's
like individualized?
Her side is hot and mine's cold. I sleep at -4. But sleep is something that all my friends, we send each other sleep scores. How lame is that?
You have better friends than I do because I don't. But look, I have a Whoop. And if you are about sleep, you know about Whoops. And so every day, it's one of the first things I do. I end my sleep, and then in about a minute it calculates your score. And something that I think I try to tell as many people as possible is the amount of time that you're laying down does not equal the amount of time that you slept. And not only that, but within each cycle, how much time you spend in that cycle is so important, right?
Definitely.
And the way Vineet and I operate, we have a lot of departments here at the law firm, and we say data is king, right, Vineet?
Yeah.
And if you can't track stats, then you don't know where you're at, right? And so for me, trust me, I'm super all about sleep. I'm like, oh man, I'm in the red, or I'm in the yellow, or I'm in the green, which is good in Whoop, right?
What was last night?
Red, but I ran 7 miles yesterday, so
7 miles.
Yeah, 7 miles.
How are your knees feeling?
I'm great.
You're good.
Yeah, but here's the thing, and some people that were in the office yesterday, because we work from home on Wednesdays, is I was running, and I got a call from Univision, and they wanted to talk about
Koberger?
Eric Menendez. Surprisingly, not Koberger, but Eric Menendez. And she said, I need this in about an hour and 15 minutes max, and I was still not even home. And I think this is part of kind of just how I am, how I'm built. I'm like, you know what? I got to, I've had a lot of interviews with Univision. If I didn't make this one, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But just that's not how I think, right? Yeah. I'm thinking if it's not me, it's going to be somebody else. And what if that guy just kills it, and then all of a sudden they start going to him, and I don't, and they forget about me, all because of that one time that I was running and I didn't make it, right? So what I did is I ran even harder back to my house, got in the car, shorts and everything, still sweating. I got a white shirt and I changed here. I had the interview with shorts, and obviously, it's just you're on the table, so they don't see the bottom part of it. And I did it, right? And I feel good because look, that's part of the hustle. And for me, that's something that I don't take opportunities lightly. If I have something that I can take advantage of, I do it, right? Because I always think if it's not me, it's going to be somebody else. And that's the way we do things here, right? We'll come across a new area of law that we need to kind of just go hard, because what do we say, Vineet? It may not be around next year, right?
Yeah, we jump into it with everything we have.
And I'll tell you, it could be legislation that changes the opportunity. It could be more competitors in the space. It could be a host of things, right? And so we like to just hustle. And anyways, so that's why my score is low, because I mean, dude,
You were hustling.
I was hustling. I ran. I came over here all sweaty. Used some Dove spray to not stink and not offend anybody here at the office. But yeah, sleep is so important, man.
Definitely. And just to give you guys some credit, I remember the first time I came out to y'all's office, it was last year, about the same time last year. And, I kind of knew Miguel. We had spoken a little bit over the phone, but never met him in person. And I remember coming into the office and I was like, whoa, this place is legit. I was like, Miguel and Vineet they're ballers. Like they know what they're doing out here. And so it's a testament what you guys have built here. You have an incredible office. All of your staff is extremely professional. So it's always a pleasure for me to come.
We
out and
appreciate
visit
that.
you
We
guys.
appreciate that.
Yeah,
And-
we really do.
And kind of what you said about being kind, going back to that, because it's so important. I mean, it's just, we can talk about that for days, right? But we tell everybody here, and everybody has that mindset, is that everything we do it client-centered. We treat them as if they were our family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because, look, my parents, they're immigrants, and they don't know, they're not well versed in like laws and even the language, right? And so I put myself in these clients' positions, and I'm like, if that was my if that was my mom, she would just believe 1,000% whatever I tell her, right? So why don't you just go above and beyond like it was your mom and treat them well? And honestly, I mean, it's worked. That's what we do all the time, from marketing to receptionists to clerks, anything like that. We treat them with respect, and it comes back. It really comes back.
Yeah, we have over 1,000 5-star Google reviews from clients,
Shameless
Wow.
plug.
and that's because we do a good job for the clients. Right?
I'm a big hustler on the Google reviews.
Yeah, it's important.
I always try to get those.
Marketing wise, super important.
Yeah.
Right. And those people, every one of those clients, when they have a good interaction and a good experience from us, even look, we do the best we can. We try to get them as much money as we can. Whatever happens with their case, they're happy with us, and their network becomes our network.
Exactly.
Right. It's the best marketing you can do, and it's free.
I think
It's free.
It's
There you
free.
go.
irrespective of what industry you're in, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a tech company, whether you're a dentist, it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you are in the business of customer service.
The service
Absolutely.
industry.
Like
yeah.
you are in the business of customer
100%.
service, and that's something that I think we all have in common is we do try to deliver an excellent product to the client because we realize that it is competitive out there. And if we can get a client who leaves our law firm who is happy and satisfied, they go spread the word of Rob Rust like it's the gospel.
That's right.
And,
look,
that is
Miami,
how business grows.
Miami is competitive. Los Angeles is competitive. I mean,
Yeah.
we're in two of the hardest markets to
Yep.
succeed in the
Absolutely,
country, right?
absolutely.
They'll win New York maybe, and that's it.
You do a good job for your client, it's going to come full
Client
circle.
for life,
That's right.
for sure.
That's right.
Especially Latinos. Latinos, it's like if you help them out in their personal injury case, they're going to call you if
For everything.
they need a bankruptcy attorney, anything. So just real quick, and this is a friend of mine. Yesterday, I got a text from a personal injury client, and I know her from way before. And she sent me a picture, and she said, hey, there's a vending machine here at the office. And the guy, stocking this is just stocking it with pictures, with chips of like expired last year. And she sends me a ton of pictures, right? And I'm like, okay, cool. And I'm telling you, it's a Latino thing, right?
This could be a big case.
And I said, did you get sick? She's like, no, I didn't get sick. I was like, well, So I said, why don't you do this? Look, put a huge piece of paper on the glass and just say, do not buy. This is all expired. I mean, hey, but no, it like if you treat somebody well, they're gonna remember you for the rest of their life.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
So, Rob, a couple cases that stand out, and just generally that you've tried or just had, not necessarily tried, but you've had and you've had good success on. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
All right, I'm actually going to throw it back before I started my own law firm. It was a criminal case. When I was a prosecutor, I had this case. It was an aggravated assault case. And the basic facts of it were this guy goes up to his baby mama and, they're in some sort of dispute. And he lifts up his shirt and he's got a gun in his waistband. He says, I'm going to fucking kill you. Can we curse
Yeah,
on this?
no, for sure.
Okay.
Yes.
And so one of the things that I wanted to do in that case during opening statements is I actually took the gun. It's still in an evidence bag, but I like kind of put it in my suit pants. And I started my opening statement with, I'm going to fucking kill you. I'm going to fucking kill you. Members of the jury, these are not my words. These are the words of this man sitting right here, the defendant in this case. And that was just a fun case. We got a guilty on it.
Did you pull the waistband up when you said it?
Of course I did.
That's great.
What an opening. And that's like
awesome.
the stuff you see in TV.
Yeah.
That's like the stuff that
John Grisham
might
right
actually
there,
happen
come to life.
on TV. And that was the part of that job that I will always miss. Because yes, there's a lot of money in what we do in personal injury, and that can be really fun as well. But the salacious kind of fun trial stuff, we don't get that as often.
But and it's amazing that you did that. But I think there's a lot more that trial attorneys in the civil arena can do, and to liven up closings and openings. I think a lot of times trial attorneys forget that they're trying the case not necessarily to the judge, but to a jury of people, lay people that don't know, don't know this legal speak, right? That are their daily routine is really checking their phones, being distracted. And all of a sudden you come in here and you just, by the tone of your voice, by having a gun in your waistband, right? It's like you are like that. You like commanded that, right? And a lot of times I think attorneys they think that because the case is like, well, ladies and gentlemen, right? And that's, I mean, if you really want to lose a jury, that's what you're going to say, right? But instead, but here's the thing too, you also, it sounds like that you really, really thought about this case a lot and how you were going to present it. And it goes back to preparation, right? And if you prepare and you think about something over and over, you can really start saying, okay, how am I going to get somebody's attention? And that was amazing. That was really good.
Yeah, so that was one of the cases that kind of stands out from a fun perspective. But, I was telling you guys this when we were walking up, that every time I come to California, it seems as if I'm settling a big case. Like, I always come to California and I get a nice email or a text that something big resolved. So this morning I woke up.
It's going to make you come see us more, huh?
Right?
Yeah.
I think I might have to come out here.
Let's do it. A residency.
Yeah, a couple times a year. But, I got the best text that a plaintiff lawyer can get, which is one from opposing counsel that says, hey, give me a call. I've got some good news for you. Smiley face. And so we all love a smiley face.
Yeah, of course.
And so I gave her a call, and she told me that we wrapped up this case that I've been litigating for about the last 12 months for $1 million. So I settled a case this morning for $1 million, which is
nice.
it's always a nice result to get that while you're on vacation.
Yeah. Awesome.
And then the most important thing was that the clients were thrilled.
Yeah.
I got to get on the phone with them, and they were so pumped. So
That's great. Congratulations.
Thank
Awesome.
you so much.
Awesome.
What just in general, what was that case about?
Yeah, so it was an auto accident case. It took place on November 23rd of 2023, which was Thanksgiving Day. So my clients had just gotten in their cars, three women, three generation of women. So we've got grandma, mom, and granddaughter. And they are driving to Thanksgiving lunch. And the defendant was a young college kid. And, it's interesting. He testified in his deposition, and I'm surprised I got this admission. But, I was a college kid once. You guys were both college kids. We all know what happens the night before Thanksgiving. You come back from college and you drink with your friends.
Yeah.
And so I said to him, I've been in college before. Like, I know what happens the night before Thanksgiving. Like, I know it's a night to celebrate with old high school friends. Did you consume alcohol the night before the crash? Yes or no? Yes, I did. What kind of alcohol did you consume? I had beer. How many beers did you have the night before this crash? I think I had 3 or 4 beers, which I was surprised to get that admission. And that's not going to, it wasn't going to be admissible evidence, unless there was maybe some sort of punitive damages angle. which we hadn't quite gotten to. But I think it helped. I moved for partial summary judgment on liability, so it was an admitted liability case. But the clients, my 3 clients, had a spectrum of injuries. The grandma, frankly, she was uninjured. She was not injured, and this is a huge rear-end crash. The driver of the vehicle, the mom, she had a 2-level ACDF, so she had spinal surgery in her cervical spine. And then the young girl who was sitting up front, we were alleging mild traumatic brain injuries for her. They really didn't value her case as much because she had something called POTS syndrome that she was diagnosed with just months before the crash. But, the case wrapped up for $1 million global, and I think it was a really, really good result.
Grandma was sitting in the back, and she was the least injured?
Exactly. So she actually took the brunt of the impact, and she basically was uninjured.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, good for her,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah. And she's 90 years old.
Wow.
And so I represented all
Wow.
3 of them in simultaneous but different lawsuits. I moved to consolidate for liability and discovery, but they were all going to be tried before different juries.
How'd you get that case?
So I got that case from a buddy I went to law school with.
Nice.
And that goes
Connections.
back
There
to
you go.
the
Yeah.
whole
Connections.
thing
Network,
about just
yeah.
be nice to your friends,
Yeah.
and that's how I got it, a classmate.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Serious.
Yeah.
Don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep
So-
good people close, right?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
meet people in law school. You meet them as you go through your life. You meet somebody that's like stand-up guy, stand-up woman. Keep them close. Keep them in your circle, right?
Absolutely.
Keep your network.
And then the third case I'll just quickly talk about, and this involves some kind of high-profile characters. I can't say too many names because there is some confidentiality that goes with it, but I had a client.
Epstein.
Tom Brady.
Exactly. Both of those guys.
Yeah.
I had a client who was in a really upscale restaurant in Miami, and world superstar soccer player was in the restaurant too. Can't say names. World superstar. And there were allegations that my client was, taking pictures, trying to be a little bit of like a nosy neighbor because they were sitting in the tables right next to each other. This restaurant turns into a nightclub. And so, long story short, the owner of the restaurant comes up and says, "Hey, can I talk to you outside?" And my client's like, "Sure, yeah, I'll talk to you outside." So he takes him to this outdoor portion. It's still within the boundary of the premise of the restaurant. And this unlicensed security guard, which we ultimately discovered through different discovery mechanisms, just totally knocked him out, like cracked his head open. And a lot of it was actually caught on camera by the paparazzi who were outside waiting for this mega star to leave the property. And so, yeah, I mean, it was a juicy case. Yeah. There was a lot of international press, but yeah, we got a nice result from him, and that was a fun civil case, nice. I'd say.
How'd you get that case?
I got that case from you guys.
Connections.
Yes. Yeah. And
so thank you for that.
And Vineet, how did we get that case?
Our new attorney.
Yeah.
What's his name?
John Giovannoni.
Yep.
Is he the guy I just met outside?
Yep.
Yeah, he sent it to us.
I like this guy.
Yeah.
No, he's a good dude.
He's
He's
a cool
a good
dude.
dude. He sent us that
dude.
case.
Yeah.
Once again, connection. I was friends with him in law school.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we go back 20 years.
And he was telling me he's got a French bulldog, and I got a French bulldog.
And
He's
small
actually
world.
right.
And
he's
he's
right
been
here.
actually very, very.
Hey, it's been great.
He's a
chill.
good boy, right?
Yeah.
And let me just ask you, how did we get that case to you?
So that case came to me from this other trial lawyer, Bob Simon.
Yeah, Bob. I mean, Bob's, and it goes back to connections, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, Bob is a great dude.
Yeah.
I think everybody can attest to that. And I literally text Bob, I think it was a Saturday or Sunday, and I said, "Hey, dude, I got like a case, pretty bad injuries, something to do with the nightclub out in Miami. I'm not really sure. Who do you know over there?" And typical Bob gets back to me within maybe 3 minutes. Had a name by the name of Rob Rust, and then the rest is history. But it all goes to show, right? That right there is all about connections, right? Because there's a million attorneys out in Florida. There are,
Yeah.
right? I could have sent it to somebody else. They might have settled it for an amount much lower, wouldn't have done justice. But, because Bob sent you, or he put us in contact, it was great, and so it really is just the magic of networking and connections.
Absolutely.
And just to add one more layer onto all of this, you're probably wondering, how did I meet Bob Simon?
Yeah.
I'm an attorney in Miami, he's in California. How do I know this guy for him to even think of me? I remember very specifically, I was at a lunch with my old boss, and we used to have I have a lot of respect for this guy. He used to always sit down and be like, how can you get more cases? But he was not saying it like, you're not bringing in enough cases, that's why we're having this conversation. It was more like, for your own personal growth, what can you do? And he brought up this guy. He's like, there's this guy out in California. He's got this kind of funny Instagram handle called Planet Fun Bob. And this guy has his own shtick, which is whiskey. He loves talking about whiskey. He likes to, have people on and discuss whiskey and all this stuff. He's like, maybe you should create an Instagram account with golf. Like, you're a big golfer, maybe you can do that. So I ended up following Bob Simon on Instagram, and I reached out to him. I said, hey, I'm a young lawyer. I'm in Miami. You don't know who I am. I'm a nobody, but I'm hungry. I like to hustle, and I see that you've had a lot of success. Like, how did you get to this point? And he, like you said, Bob is a great guy. He reached out to me, who was nobody, and was like, hey, you want to get on the phone and talk? So I was like, yeah. So we got on, and we had like a really nice 30-minute conversation where I got to just ask him a bunch of questions. And mind you, I'm like 3 years out of law school. Like, he doesn't know who I am. And I guess I made an impression with him that he thought I was capable of handling this case. And
you were.
I was.
Yeah. No. So the power of networking, and it's the power of networking with the right people. And sometimes we just don't know, right? Sometimes you can network with bad people and then they lead you to bad results. But luckily, this story is all about some really good networking.
Definitely.
That's great.
So Rob, as we wrap up, how can people get in touch with you?
I guess I'm hesitant to give my cell phone number out, but I will, because that's the best way to contact me. I'm almost always available. You can call my cell. It's 850-322-2568.
A little slower.
Yeah, 850-322-2568. The other thing that I communicate with on quite a bit is Instagram. That's how I talk to a lot of professionals. That's how I keep in touch with people. My Instagram account is at rust_injury_law. So Rust Injury Law. Shoot me a message. I'd be happy to vet the case or point you in the right direction, do anything I can to help.
Hey, you're our guy in Florida for sure.
I appreciate that.
And honestly, for being our first guest, I think we killed it, and you killed it, and
I feel like this is our 100th show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I feel like this was just hanging out with buddies.
the next,
That was the goal.
because it is. The next time you're here, we'll get into more about your first firm and how that panned out into you branching out, because you did mention your old boss, and I'm sure there's some good stories you have to tell of how he helped you grow, because that story right there shows that he was making you think about the bigger picture.
Definitely. And
And I want to hear more about your family.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
I-
connected.
I-
Very connected. guy.
Grandfather getting appointed by Nixon.
Yeah, and he actually
And owns a hotel in the Keys.
well, so
I like it.
we'll save this. This is a
Interesting.
little teaser for
Interesting.
next. But my grandfather is famous for thwarting an assassination attempt against JFK before he was ultimately assassinated.
Look at
So
that. I mean,
he-
that's
we've got
good
lots
stuff
of
to talk
stuff
about
signed
next
by
time.
JFK.
That's
but
good
we'll
stuff.
save it for the next pod.
Awesome.
Rob, you're the man. Thank you
Hey,
very much.
thanks for
I
having
appreciate
me.
it. Thanks.
Yeah, enjoyed it.
Appreciate it.
Good stuff.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for tuning in to Sidebar Sessions by CD Law. Subscribe to our podcast channel and follow us at CD Law Firm. Wine picks are welcome. From Custodio and Dubey, your personal injury law firm. We'll see you next time.